You kind of got like a Southern rapper accent kind of.
Oh, do I? That makes me feel very good.
Yeah, like if you told me you managed Big Crit, I'd be like, for sure you do, dude.
I don't call cars, I call them slabs.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Ivey League. I'm the most immaculate man in comedy, Chris Ivey. Very, very excited for today. We have a special guest, a titan of comedy.
Oh goodness.
My man's got shades on in here saying I'm like a rapper.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coming in hot and stoned. Give it up for Kenny Deforest. What's good?
Hey, the Ivy League. I like that. That's good.
Thank you. That's good branding. Our slogan for the podcast is Let's Get Better.
Why have you not traded for Jaden Ivey in our fantasy basketball league?
I tried to draft him. I ran out of money, and I spent money on Draymond, and now I hate myself. Yeah, me and Kenny are in a fantasy basketball league with other comics. Yeah. I'm currently in 12th place. I'm having a rough season. I've had some life stuff, and I haven't been a good GM.
Yeah. That's okay. Yeah, you still have Johnny Davis on your team inexplicably, but you know.
It's a sad thing. You're going to work with me on that,
I'm going to work with you, yeah.
You're the commish.
I am the commish.
You're the commish of the NBA league. What's your team name again?
I just changed it to Greta Van Vliet.
I like that a lot.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
I was the cherry picking daddies, but I didn't really like that very much. That was a rushed. You know.
Last year I was Jaren Jackson Jr. Soprano.
That was good.
And this year, because I have Joel Embiid, I'm the first Joel.
Yeah,
my picture is Joel with the Santa hat on.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Oh, I've got the phone. Move the phone over to the side so we don't get any feedback.
For sure. And you know what? Let me go airplane mode.
There we go. Look at the pro.
Call me Vince Carter because I'm going airplane mode.
You've done some big podcasts, right?
Sure.
Which ones?
I did Pete Holmes' podcast. I did You Made It Weird. That's probably the biggest one I've done.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, that was fun.
Have you done Two Dope Queens?
I did do Two Dope Queens. Yeah, I did a set on there.
Okay.
Yeah. That was awesome.
That's incredible.
That was actually really, that's a funny comedy story, actually.
Oh, please, get into it.
So I did this set. It was about being in an interracial relationship. And some of the material was kind of new, and a lot of it ended up on my album, Bad Dreams. But it was like early enough in me developing it that I was confident, but I was like, I don't know. I'm about to do this in front of a very black female crowd. Do the set. It goes great. I get off stage. I smoke some weed. I'm high just watching the rest of the show. Right. Yeah. Who, me?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting off to the side watching the show, and this black woman from the crowd walks up and goes, does your black girlfriend know about these jokes? And I go, oh, yeah. No, I've said them all to her. She thinks they're funny. She goes, really? Because from where I'm sitting, you just got about 10 minutes of laughs at black women's expense. And walked off, and it got so in my head, dude, because I was like, oh, this set's about to go out too. I can't think of a more black female crowd than Two Dope Queens. So if anyone else feels like this woman, I'm about to have a big day whenever this podcast comes out.
If you don't know Kenny, he gets in his head. He gets in his head heavy.
Yeah, I get heavy in the dome for sure. Yeah, as a basketball player too, if you want to transition.
Oh yeah, no. We're gonna get to all the Kenny specific things. The real question I have first is, Kenny, how did you get into rings? I mean, I didn't notice until after the show last night. My man is.
I went into COVID with no rings.
No rings.
I came out with 5.
Johnny Depp.
I came out with 5 rings.
Hey, Kenny, could you introduce me to your candelabra guy? I didn't really
Yeah, he speaks. He's my butler, too.
Oh, he is? That's cool. That's cool. Does it take a long time to blow out all the candles you have in your lair at night?
Yeah, it does. The hardest part is sleeping upside down with my arms crossed. That's the part that gets really tricky.
I'm catching a real Bram Stoker's vibe from my man over here.
Yeah. No, listen, we had a rough COVID. And
you went bald. You got COVIDed to the point you lost all your hair.
Yeah, that's a side effect they didn't really talk about. I got long COVID, so apparently I'm going to be bald for the rest of my life because of this shit.
Keep Kenny's name out your mouth.
That's right, but keep my hair in your memory.
I am happy you shaved it, though. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are.
Yeah.
It's the thing. You were holding on for the... You were like, I'm just not going to...
Well, here's the thing.
As it was moving backwards, you were like, I'm still not cutting it.
No, I'm going to let it get long in the back.
Yeah. And you were playing a lot of golf during COVID, so I know you were wearing hats, but I bet you were keeping them real loose. I bet you were like, these gotta be... No, I went full mountain man.
I mean, the truth is I could not get a haircut, legitimately. Like in LA, no barbershops were open, and I hadn't lived there long enough to have a barber. Like I didn't have a phone number of a person. The one actually I had her phone number. She, this is actually hilarious. She got 2 weeks into COVID, and it was the first time in her life that she had just had time to question her life, and she was Jehovah's Witness. When I started getting her haircut with her, she was still an active Jehovah's Witness, which I slowly learned after 3 or 4 haircuts of hearing her talk about her life. 2 weeks into COVID, she said, I don't believe in this anymore. I finally had time to like Google stuff. And she's like, I'm moving to Ohio tomorrow. So this is the last time I'll be able to cut your hair. I'm going to go to my estranged sister and leave the Jehovah's Witnesses. So I lost my barber.
That sucks.
No, it's okay. She was like, I can stay. I was like, no, don't stay in a cult because my hair sucks.
Yeah, it's weird to denounce being a Jehovah's Witness and then move to the most Jehovah's Witness state, right?
Yeah. She retreated to the homeland, I guess.
Yeah. She went back to get in touch with that weird underwear they wear. Or is that Mormons? Am I wrong?
That I don't know.
Jehovah's Witness don't celebrate holidays.
Right. My old roommate was Jehovah's. Yeah. So like on his birthday, we would celebrate his birthday, but as a kid, he didn't. He said his dad would text him and be like, I understand someone's another year older today. That was like the closest to happy birthday they could do. Yeah.
Well, that's about the amount of love you get from your father, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's par for the course.
Yeah.
So, Kenny, I'm so excited to have you on.
Thanks, man.
I'm gonna make you uncomfortable by going through all the great stuff you've done and how awesome you are. Is that okay? Can you handle it?
Yeah, I guess I can handle it.
By the way, do you have a Zen packet on you?
Yeah, you want one?
I would love one.
Oh man, they're in the car. If you want to hit pause, I can go get you a Zen.
No, we don't have to. Read, do you think the pod won't be bad? You know what? I'm going to explain who you are while you're away so you don't have to deal with it.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, I'm going to go get
Kenny
you a Zen
will be right
packet.
back, and I'm going to talk about Kenny. Reed, hop on this microphone real quick. I want to sort of explain Kenny to you. So, Kenny Deforest is a very important piece of comedy. So, right now, Reed, everybody's doing clubs, podcasts are huge. Before that, there was a big indie surge in the late 2000s, early 2010s. That's like when I started. And the biggest things in comedy were these small, independently run shows. So out in LA, you had The Meltdown, which was run by Kumail, who obviously catapulted him to stardom. And then on the East Coast, one of the biggest shows in New York was called The Knitting Factory. And The Knitting Factory was started by Hannibal Burress when he moved there. And Hannibal got huge and then handed it off to these three, Kenny's back, these three losers. And Hannibal handed it off to Kenny, Will, and Clark, right? How did that happen, by the way? And I do want to say this. And then Kenny and his friends ran the biggest independent show on the East Coast for how long?
4 years.
4 years. Anybody who did it. Here's how big that show was. And I'll put this on you. You tell me if this is correct. The HBO show Crashing, which is about a guy making it in New York at comedy. Mm-hmm. They had to have an episode where he did this sort of Knitting Factory show, and you're in that episode. And he's doing your show, and like John Mulaney's there.
Yeah, well, so that episode, Beth Stelling actually wrote that episode. So we know Beth from Chicago. Mm-hmm. And so she actually sent us a screenshot of the script, and she was like, I don't know if it's going to happen, but I just want you guys to know that I'm trying to write you into the show. And then we found out like a month later that they're going to do it. So actually in the episode, he goes to an apartment show.
Yeah.
In Brooklyn. But Will Clark and I are hosting the apartment show together. So it was fun. And we did what we did at Knitting Factory for the episode. So we just like roasted each other and whatever. So
yeah, but
that's the little gross little holder.
That's the wrong spot.
Here,
can you open this for me? I'm a Zen guy. I need a little nicotine.
Boom.
But that's how important y'all were to show independent comedy in New York. They sort of had to have y'all.
Yeah, if you want to look at it that way, I'm down. I'm down with that. I'm down with that description. I won't push back on that.
You don't think that was the case?
No,
or is that your own insecurity? Because I used to see the lineups, like that show. We'll get into how Hannibal gave it to you, but that show, Chappelle did that show,
right?
Name some other people who've done the show. Anybody did the show.
Dave Chappelle. That was an awesome night. Getting to introduce him. Like Big J Okerson, Roy Wood Jr. Man, we had some great people. Gina Yashere.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, it was nuts. It was really nuts.
Everybody in New York did the show.
Yeah.
And it was sold out every week.
Yeah. It was
to ass. And
yeah. Asses and elbows, baby.
Yeah.
No, that was like the coolest experience of my life, to be honest with you, running that show. It was crazy. Because I'm also from like Springfield, Missouri. So I'm from the Midwest. I'm from the corn, baby.
Yeah.
And
an only child from the corn.
An only child from the corn. An only child of the corn. And yeah, to just be all of a sudden hosting the coolest show on the planet in Brooklyn every week. I mean, I'd be on stage looking out like, how did I get here? This is insane. It felt like my 8 Mile moment. So, but yeah, it was an incredible thing. And the only reason I say I'm not trying to be insecure or whatever. The reason I say that is I don't know if it was so much like we have to show the Knitting Factory, or if it was just these three represent Brooklyn hip comedy type situation.
But the reason you three represent it is because
of that show. Yeah. I mean, us hosting together, it was actually crazy. So I was ready to move to New York about 6 months before I actually did. I was there visiting, and they used to do a JFL Chicago back in the day. And so I started in Chicago. And so every year in Chicago, that was like the big opportunity, is to audition for JFL Chicago. And normally the local comics would open for the big comics. So like you're auditioning to be in the festival, and you might get to open for Amy Schumer at the Chicago Theater type situation. And I had just done all the great shows in New York, including Knitting Factory with Hannibal running it. And I was like, okay, I'm ready to move. And then I was at the airport to head back to Chicago, and auditions for JFL Chicago got released, and I didn't get one. And it was like 50 Chicago comics, and I didn't get one. And I was just like, what? I called Clark Jones from the airport, and I was like, man, fuck this. I'm moving to New York. I'm not going to stay in Chicago. There's one opportunity. I'm like all pissed off. And Clark's like, hey, man, slow down. Will and I might want to move to Chicago. Slow down. So he called me back like 20 minutes later, and he's like, if you can wait till September, we'll go together. And I was like, all right. So I did one last summer in Chicago, and as we're moving to New York, we're in the U-Haul, and it's before we even get on the highway leaving Chicago, and Clark just goes, man, how crazy would it be if Hannibal got too busy to run knit and just gave it to us? And then that happened like a year later. I was like, what? What? So yeah, it was crazy. And so Clark was opening for Hannibal, and yeah, I think Hannibal he received like the last booking message he could handle with how busy he was, and he just kind of sighed and looked at Clark like, man, y'all want to take over knit? And that's how it happened. And we'd been running a show together at Stand Up New York for a year at that point, Will Clark and I. And one of Hannibal's friends came and I think saw our chemistry and was like, yeah, your boys from Chicago are running a show together, they're funny. And I think that's how it happened.
And then who did y'all hand it off to?
Marie Faustin, Sydney Washington, and Amina Amani.
Is it back?
No, the venue closed.
Wow.
Yeah, they'll probably reopen somewhere else, but knit as we know it doesn't exist. It's really sad.
Yeah.
But
I want to get back to the knit and some of the stories you have from some of those shows.
Okay.
But what I want to talk to you about right now is something, I don't know if you know this. I knew about you way before we ever met.
Oh, really?
Because when I was first starting out in comedy, I started hosting shows, and maybe a few months after I started hosting shows, you wrote something for a guy who got canceled. I don't know.
Yeah, hard canceled.
Hard canceled.
I wrote a blog.
He got hard.
Yeah, he did. He did.
You wrote the most incredible article about how to host a comedy show.
Oh yeah, I know. That is the most feedback I've gotten on anything I've done is still that article.
I would send it to comics, and I read it, and it was amazing. It taught you exactly how to host, taught you how to host at clubs. One of the best things you say in there, which I repeat to everybody, is you know you're a good host if you're not the best part of the show.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be.
Yeah.
And when people call me a good host, it does make me mad, but then I think like, wow, like not doing bits in between comics or when to go or when to ride the wave or when to come in with something.
Yeah.
It was incredible. I wish you'd rewrite it or find a way to get it back, or if you have an old Google draft of it.
I've tried to find it. Actually, Clark told me I think he still has a copy, and I want to get it and put it on Medium. But yeah, no, thanks, man. That was also kind of.
It seemed like it came from a place of frustration, not really like, you were like, I'm done hosting, here's how to do it.
Yeah.
It was sort of like your way of being like, I'm retired from hosting.
I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah, I got like, it was my way in Chicago for sure, was being a strong host. But then it hit a point where I was asking for spots, and they were like, well, we need you to host. No one else can do it. And I was just like, well, that's not my problem anymore.
Yeah.
And I just got tired of so many comics just being like, I don't like hosting, or I don't host. And it's like, well, do you think I like this? You know? And it's, so yeah, it was total frustration.
Roy Wood Jr. told me you start your career hosting and you end your career hosting if it goes well.
That's hilarious. And that's absolutely true. That guy is like stand-up comedy Buddha.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked with him a few times. He did my Good People show one time that really put a stamp on me. He's one of the nicest guys. If you hit him up, he'll hit you right back.
Dude, I
did a weekend with him, and it's the most I ever learned.
Yeah.
About doing comedy, and it sucked because it was right before the it was the Christmas before the pandemic started.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna move.
Oh yeah.
Because he was like, you're good. You just gotta get out there. You gotta go. And then the pandemic hit, and I did not move.
Yeah.
But he really is.
He's insane, man. I mean, I remember I was auditioning.
And works.
Oh, so hard. I was auditioning for The Daily Show, and
you auditioned for The Daily Show?
Yeah. Well, like tape submission. But yeah, totally. And
what? Real quick before you get into this, what stuff have you auditioned? What have you not gotten? I want to do a list of what you've not gotten first.
Man,
is this good content? What have you not gotten? This is how big Kitty is without being big. What have you not gotten?
The first thing that felt like it was going to be huge, they were doing Yo, Is This Racist? The podcast. They were doing it as a TV show on MTV. And they had Cal Penn on to host. Like, he was like signed in to be the host of it. And I made it to the screen test for the panel and then got an offer, and then the show just didn't happen. And I was like, damn, that would have been fun. And then there was a stand-up competition show that they were taping right before COVID for a major streamer. We'll say that. Some would say the major streamer. And
does it start with an N?
It may or may not. Yeah. Yeah. So like if you're into
run by a guy whose last name is Sorendos.
Let me put it this way: if you're into flicks, you're gonna like this streamer a lot.
Did they used to mail you DVDs at some point?
Yes, and no. So this, you figured it out. This is for Blockbuster, and
great.
The Blockbuster stand-up competition show. Yeah. I know.
Who else was going to be on it?
A bunch of people. It was like kind of like The Voice almost, where it was like instead of judges, there were coaches, and you get drafted to a team. But and then COVID wiped that off the earth. Shane Torres was there. Rosebud.
What?
Yeah. And then all of COVID, we thought it was coming back, and then it just didn't. And it was like, that's part of why I looked so insane. I thought I didn't trim my beard or cut my hair for the whole time because I thought it'd be funny to come back, like I emerged from a hole, And then the show didn't come back, and I just looked insane. And everybody was like, "What happened there, bud?" And I was like, "Well, I had a plan. I had a plan." So those are kind of the two biggest things.
And then back to the story you were telling before.
Oh, what was it? I don't remember.
What were we talking about, Reed? before? What he didn't get?
Knitting Factory.
We were talking about the knit. And we'll get to it. I'll remember it. Don't sweat it. Don't sweat it. Somebody's listening like these
the hosting thing, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that it's crazy how much people still tell me about that. And I've had even bookers be like, "Yeah, I used to have that posted in the green room." And I was like, "That's
Give
cool."
us real quick. How would you tell a comic how to host? Just go.
Well, the first thing is just to get people clapping and also to explain stand-up comedy to the audience. Because the thing that I learned is someone had told me just make them clap up top. And so I would always be like, who's been to a comedy show before? You know, whose first time is it? Who's been to this club? Like that, just to get people clapping. And I was always shocked at how many people, it was their first ever stand-up show. And that was almost always the case. Most of the crowd, it was their first time. And I was like, oh, wow. And that's why, and then sometimes audiences don't know how to act, but they've never been there. And you're the host. Mm-hmm. So, just something simple like, well, I'm your host. Say your name. I'm going to be up and down all night. We got a bunch of great comics for you. If you need to go to the bathroom, try to go when I'm up here. If you, all that stuff. There's table service. If you need a drink, just order from the server. Keep your table talk down, all that. Because they don't know. They just don't know what they're doing there. And then just being high energy and not treating it like an open mic. That's the big thing. Because so many people hosting are kind of like, all right, I'll try this new thing. And it's like, yeah, if you're like a seasoned veteran, sure. But I think what I said in the article was open with something that you know is going to work. If you want to try something new, put it in the middle. But then you have to know your closer. You have to have something in the bag ready. If the energy gets weird, pivot into that, crush, and then don't do time in between unless you need to.
Another Roy Wood thing, they only remember the beginning and the end.
It's exactly right, and that's very true. Oh, we were talking about that, Roy Wood.
Yeah. Oh, screen testing for The Daily Show. Yeah, we're back on the track, show.
Yeah, so it was like you wrote a piece, like a desk piece, and then taped it. And so I wrote something about Rachel Dolezal because that was going on at that time. And
who got in killer shape, by the way.
Yeah, she looks great.
Oh, she does.
Yeah.
Ex-girlfriend?
All the curves you want a black woman to have, So anyway, I referenced Roy's bit about how there should be like a wristband for cool white people. And so I referenced that in the bit where it's like maybe Roy's onto something because white people wouldn't be trying so hard to prove that they're one of the good ones if we could just have a wristband, was basically the thought process. So I texted Roy and I was like, do you mind if I reference your bit or whatever? And then he was just like, send me the script. And then just started sending me these detailed notes. Like he's just such a nice guy. Like he wants to help everybody, And I was shocked. I kept being like, are you sure you have time for this? And he's like, yeah, send me another copy. And I'd apply his notes and resend it. And he like workshopped it with me. And I was just like, this guy rules.
Yeah, he is the greatest.
Yeah.
He's so good. Tell me about how you got Chappelle to do the net. This is an incredible story. And then I want you to tell the whole story where you talk about how he was in the green room.
Oh, yeah.
And how you didn't know. Just do the whole, tell me like you've never told anybody. And be completely honest. Tell the real spit.
Yeah. Well, so I had a friend at the time that was working at SNL. And so I was at the after party, the SNL after party. And Kevin Hart hosted that weekend. And Chappelle was hosting, I think, the next weekend.
Who was the musical guest?
That might have been Drake.
Okay.
No. Because Drake hosted when he did it. I think he did hosted and music. I don't remember.
Okay, you can keep going.
Yeah, that might have been Prince. That might have been Prince.
We're gonna get to the SNL musical acts you've seen, but no, keep going.
Well, so Chappelle was there supporting Kevin Hart, and he walked up to my friend and started talking to her about the show, and then Chappelle's best friend was just standing there, so I just started chatting him up. And him and I hit it off. And then
how do you chat to Dave Chappelle?
I didn't. I was like, y'all talk business over there.
But how did y'all hit it off?
Oh, is it me and Chappelle's best friend? Just like shooting the shit. Where you from? Like, I think we started talking hoops.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's an easy end.
Yeah, always. And so our friend Joyelle, do you know Joyelle Johnson?
No, I do not.
Oh, okay. She's great. She's one of my best friends, and she was Chappelle's opener at the time. I texted her, and I was like, what are the chances you want to do knit? And she's like, I'm already on it, right? Mm-hmm. So it's Sunday night. We get there. The show's in the back room that night, and it was a crazy lineup. Pete Davidson was on. So many people. And so we're getting ready to start the show, and Joyelle takes her phone and just takes a photo of the packed out back room and texts it to him, and he just replies, "Looks good, ... So we start the show not knowing if he's coming. And we're like maybe 2 comics in, and Will Clark and I are on stage about to bring someone up, and we just see a guy come in with his hood pulled up, head down, and just walk straight to the green room. And we were like, I think I know what this is. And we get off stage, we bring up whoever we were bringing up, and we get off stage, and there he is, just standing in the green room. And he comes up, and he's like, "Man, what you guys doing here is awesome." He started telling us about where Brooklyn comedy started. He's like, "Yeah, man, like back in the day, people didn't go to Brooklyn at all." And he's like, and then like Janine Garofalo and Zach Galifianakis and that crew started this whole scene. And all of a sudden comics like wanted to come over, and he's like, "Just keep doing what you're doing, man. This is amazing. Keep doing what you're doing." And yeah, it was insane. And then he was just like holding court in the green room.
Okay, so I heard a different story from you.
What's that?
Well, when he got there, he was severely inebriated.
Yeah, he was.
So inebriated. So you said afterwards he was holding court, but you said he was so y'all didn't know if he was going to go up.
Well, you might be conflating. There's another guy there, my friend Kevin.
Okay.
He was the one that was like talking to me, and I thought he was about to fall down. And then we brought him to the stage, and he just crushed. He like snapped into it. I was like, "That's crazy." But he was on one. He was loose. He was real loose. Mm-hmm. So
I think I was. But then Chappelle went on. How much time did he do?
Like an hour, and it was all on the spot. All throw out a headline and I'll riff on it. Mm-hmm. And that was the night that I tweeted that story that went super viral over COVID.
What's the story?
So he was asking the audience
Jimmy Kimmel shared that.
Yeah. He was asking the audience for suggestions, like what's going on in the news, what do you want to talk about? And it was crazy to watch his mind work, because people were trying to trick him. Even they'd throw out like a story from the 20th page of the newspaper. And I remember one of them was, they go, "The Pope," and he goes, "What'd the Pope do?" And they go, "He said that disrespecting his mother is a sin that he would not forgive." And he goes, "I didn't know we had a black pope." And he just like immediately just started riffing on that. And I was like, that's crazy, But so then someone yelled police brutality, and we were like, at this time, it was right around the time of Eric Garner, who was choked out for selling Lucy's in Staten Island. That had happened. And I think actually what had just happened is the cop that killed him had just been non-indicted by a grand jury, so there would be no trial. So there was protests. And so someone yelled police brutality, and he's like, "You sure you want to do this?" And they were like, "Yeah." And he just like started going in. And at one point, this white girl, she was drunk. She just yelled, "Life's hard. Sorry about it." And he was like, "What the f did you just say?" And then he just like went in, and he just explained the entire history, going all the way back to slavery, of black people's relationship with the police, and the way the police have been used as a weapon to keep them down and maintain oppressor status, basically. And just did it so eloquently and quickly. It was like a crash course. And he ended up talking about, so his best friend, who I was talking to at SNL, is from South Africa. And so he started talking about, he asked his friend what it was like right before apartheid ended. And his friend was like, it was chaos. And he's like, I think that's what we're experiencing right now. And he basically said, what happened in South Africa was, as soon as enough people started caring about apartheid and realizing how barbaric it was, as soon as he called it the critical mass of people, once that was reached, there was nothing they could do to stop it. Like the tides had turned. Apartheid is going to end because the people's will is that. And you can't fight that. So his whole thing was, instead of yelling life's hard, sorry about it, just become someone that cares. And you become part of the critical mass. And after the show, the girl was like so apologetic. We're in the green room and Joyelle came back like, yeah, that girl wants to talk to you. I told her to beat it. And he was like, no, go get her. So she brought the girl back and her friend was so embarrassed. And she's like, I'm so sorry. I just want you to know that like, I heard everything you said and thank you for not being meaner to me. And, and he was like, no, it's okay. He's like, you didn't know, but now you do. So all I want you to do moving forward is if you hear someone say some dumb, like you said, just tell them what I told you tonight. And now you're part of the critical mass. And he hugged her, gave her a photo. I was like, damn.
Yeah, he came to her like Jesus just said, go and sin no more.
That's exactly right. Yeah. That's exactly right. Your sins have been forgiven. So,
that is unbelievable.
Yeah, it was crazy.
What are some other great stories from the net? And it can just be maybe a riff y'all had or a guest who popped in or maybe just a wild show, people who were there one night.
Man, there were so many. No Name was in the audience one night. That was awesome.
Really?
Yeah, she was sitting in the front row and I like recognized her while we were riffing and something I said made her laugh really hard and I was like, I'll retire today. I'm good.
Yeah, score one for Kitty.
Yes, exactly. Man, it was honestly just watching people crush in that room. Like the last year of the show, I watched every comic. Like I didn't step outside. Like early, sometimes I'd go outside and smoke and like kind of watch through the glass. But that last year when I knew that we were winding down, I was like, I'm going to savor every minute of this. And I would just stand there. And some of my favorite memories are like giving younger comics their first big show.
Like who?
And then watching them crush. Scotland Green has a set that stands out to me. Mm-hmm. Do you know him? Mm-hmm. He's great. He crushed. Mae Wilkerson had a debut there where she just destroyed. And that's just really fun, man. Like to see someone who comes to that show, like this is big for me. Like bringing that energy, you know, because a lot of times the bigger names will come through and they're trying new shit. And that's fun to watch, but it's also fun to watch someone that's got like.
Did you ever like Janine come out and do a set?
Janine Garofalo came. That was awesome.
Did Sarah Silverman ever come through?
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately, no. Rachel Feinstein, that was really cool.
Aparna used to do the show, right?
Yeah, Aparna did it quite a bit.
Yeah, I bet she.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, she's a killer, man. Joe Firestone, like, yeah, it was just, and also the hang. It was like, you know, it was a Sunday show, which had like a little spiritual significance. You're like you're in Brooklyn, kind of like the castaways. A lot of people that grew up super religious in the Midwest or the South moved to New York and they don't have that anymore. But it was this like still this like Sunday gathering and there was a spiritual feeling. It was like a very communal feeling in that room. And we had, you know, people that came every week to the show and you start to feel like kind of family with them too, where it's like, hey man, good to see you, know, and so yeah, that was the best part, dude, for sure.
And I bet you, Clark and Will are still the best of friends.
Without a doubt.
And Clark Jones, Will Miles, incredible comics. Check them out.
Yeah.
Check out Southside.
It's.
I can't believe they canceled that show. That was so stupid.
I know.
That show is hilarious.
It's so funny, man. And Will's great in it.
When they got to get the Xbox back, oh man,
it's so funny, dude. Yeah. And then Will acting.
He's got to play a game of 2K to try to get it back.
Yeah. No, it's such a good show. It really is. I don't know why they canceled it. I really don't, because everybody that watched it loved it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
And you filmed your first special, Bad Dreams, at the Net, right?
Yeah, and it's actually finally about to come out. A lot of the footage got up.
You've got the joke in there about white privilege that's so good.
Oh, thanks, man.
I don't want to butcher it. It's on Bad Dreams.
Yeah.
Right?
So actually, I don't even know. Bad Dreams should be on YouTube within the next couple weeks. So.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
I haven't even seen you announce it or say anything about it.
I've been waiting.
Is it going to just be on your YouTube or is it going to be on a rec? Okay.
Yeah, I'll put it on mine.
You have got. I will make sure to share it and stuff. I know our following's not huge.
Hey, whatever, man. I'll take anything I can get.
It's so.
If you like it, share it with friends, man.
It's really good. It's a really great hour.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
I remember when you came through right before you recorded it to work on it at Syndicate.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, man. That was. That was a whirlwind too. I wasn't even planning on doing an album yet, and I booked Seth Myers, but they were like, "Well, we like our comics to be promoting something. Does he have anything to promote?" And I was like, "Well, I'll just do an album, so I can do Seth Myers." It wasn't even like, so it kind of, but that was good. It lit a fire under my ass and made me get the hour together because of me being in my head all the time, as we established earlier.
Yeah, and your Comedy Central set where you have the depression chunk on there.
Yeah.
Check that out too. That's an incredible set.
Thank you.
The way you describe therapy is going through the boxes in the attic. It's pitch perfect.
Thanks, man. Yeah. That one felt really cool too, because I had a bunch of mental health professionals reach out to me and be like, "I've never heard anyone describe it that perfectly. I show this to my..." I
felt like that clip popped off a little bit.
Yeah, it did. It did.
How'd you get that? The Comedy Central.
Man, I stopped working with a manager at the end of COVID, and I just had this moment of like, I guess like at the end of COVID, I was in a place of like self-pity, which I hate. I hate victim mindset, but you know, we're humans, we fall into it. And I had a moment where I was just like, I honestly, I mean, whatever, this is just full disclosure here. I had a little bit of a mental breakdown at the end of COVID. Like I kind of just lost my
Really? In what way?
Dude, it's just like, you know, I'm watching people keep going. You know, LA was the most shut down place in the country. Like we couldn't even do outdoor shows. I think I did stand up 6 times in 2 years. And like I said, I was doing that competition show going in. And so I went.
You felt like you had all this momentum.
Yeah. And then that ends. And then people in New York are doing rooftop shows. And I saw Rosebud post something about like she was able to do 30 shows in 30 days, which was a goal she set for herself. And I was like, what the f-? And then, you know, I'm watching people have all this footage to post. Well, I'm trying to save material for this show, because it's like I'd already put out Bad Dreams, and then the new hour is what I was going to do on the show. And I thought it was coming back, so I didn't post. I'm watching people like take off. And then, there was just like a list of comics you should know. That never bothers me. That's how I knew I was in a rough spot mentally. Lists never bother me. I'm always just like, there's a million comedians and they picked 10 and they're all great.
And they all have managers and agents that finesse them
100%. But it was one of those like comedians you should know.
And they're all funny. Not saying those people on the list aren't very funny and very great. But there is a PR thing. The same way you see like a, hey, Top Gun for Best Picture for your consideration. There are agents and managers who like, get this person on the list
100%,
so they can get booked more and I can get my 10%,
without a doubt. But on this list it had like people on SNL, and it was like comedians that you should know about. It's like, I think they know about them. And I started thinking about going back to school, and I was like looking up grad school and all this stuff, and I was just like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. And then I like calmed down. And it was about a week of that, of like kind of spiraling and researching grad school. And then I had like a reality check of like, I'm not going to quit this. And then I was like, well, turn this energy positive, like do something with it. Don't
use
just
the mania to your advantage.
Yeah. And so I reached out to, Ryan at Comedy Central, and they had booked me to do a taping before COVID. So I was doing the competition show, and then I was also going to do that. So that's like, I felt like I had big time momentum. And I was like, hey, are you guys going to redo those or whatever? And he was like, oh, it's weird you just reached out. We were just thinking about the next round, and we were thinking of having you, Will, and Clark on the same one and doing like a Chicago one, because Becca O'Neill too. And he was like, you know, it'd be like 10 to 15 minutes. Do you want to do that? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so I booked that, and then it kind of like took me out of that mind state, which I hate being in anyway. And we went from there. And then I taped a new special last May, and it's actually done. So I'm going to release Bad Dreams first, clip it up, try to use that to get some momentum going, and then release the new one. And that one will probably be on my YouTube as well. I mean, I'm going to shop it, but realistically, it'll probably be on my YouTube.
What's the new special called?
Don't You Know Who I Am?
That's a good name.
Yeah, thanks.
That's a good name.
It's a very basketball heavy special.
Oh, do you tell the story about the guy in Brooklyn and the nickname they gave you?
Yeah.
God, that's one of the best. That's Reed's. one of his favorite jokes of all time. Reed's a big stand-up fan.
Oh, thanks, man.
And he references it all the time.
Yeah, it's that's why it's called that. Don't you know who I am?
Yeah, because of that joke.
Yeah. So, and it's also the story of Tyler Hansbrough dominating me so hard I became a comedian. So it's basically my story of disappointment with basketball, kind of struggling with mental health afterwards, and then the redemption story of.
I have a funny little Tyler Hansbrough story. Do you want to hear it?
Of course I do.
Okay, so my aunt had cancer, and she was getting cancer treatment in New York. And it was really cool when she was going through her treatment. She treated it almost like bucket list stuff. She would fly me up to New York occasionally to hang out with her, and we'd just do cool stuff with her, her son Mike, and I. And we do Thanksgiving, and we're going to do the parade, everything. We stay at the Marriott Marquis in Times Square.
Wow.
Which to me was big, but now it's like, the Soho Grand would have been nice. And I'm such a bougie piece of shit.
Yeah.
No, but it was incredible. And North Carolina and Tennessee and all the people who were at the Garden playing in that Thanksgiving tournament were staying there.
Oh, wow.
And me and my cousin, we're 14, 15, and all we do is play basketball and sports, and that's all that matters. And when you're that age, you're actually into college basketball. You know, you're like really, because you're like, oh, I could maybe get there. And this also includes Bruce Pearl and how cool he is. So we get in the elevator, and we're going up like 70 flights. And I look behind me, and it's Tyler Hansbrough, Bruce Pearl, and Chris Lofton. Do you remember Chris Lofton?
Oh, yeah, of course.
He was so
It was really nice.
He was so good.
He was really nice.
He was pull up Chris Lofton highlights. He was pulling up 30-footers in college.
Yeah.
And they were the number one. They beat the Derrick Rose, Chris Douglas Roberts. They were the only team to beat them that year. So we're in there, and we are so nervous and so like terrified, and it's dead quiet in there. And we're probably like, we're now like floor 10. And Bruce Pearl, this is how Bruce Pearl's such a good recruiter and coach. Bruce Pearl just goes, well, hell, kids, aren't you guys going to say something to Tyler Hansbrough? He's right behind you. And we turn around and we're like, hey, Tyler Hansbrough. And Tyler's not even his player, and Tyler Hansbrough starts laughing. And Bruce Pearl goes, yeah, this is my loser, Chris Lofton, right here. And I look at Chris Lofton and I go, I actually like you better than him. And Bruce Pearl starts dying laughing. They give us the autograph. They're so nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And this is another thing about Bruce Pearl being a great coach. So they did, Reed, you went when we went to, they did an Alabama-Auburn game. Avery Johnson was the coach of Bama. Bruce Pearl was the coach of Auburn. And this is Alabamaville. And it was in Birmingham. And I remember being at the game, our buddy Tolly got us press seats. So we were sitting right behind the Auburn players. No, the Alabama players, and the Auburn players are on the other side. And like Charles Barkley's there, Dominique Wilkins, all these huge NBA people. The person below Adam Silver for the NBA was there. And it was an exhibition NBA game, and they hadn't done one in Birmingham in forever. And all these big people are there. And what was so interesting is nobody walked up to Avery Johnson to like dap and be like, hey, what's up, bro? How you doing? There was a line of people to see Bruce Pearl.
Oh, wow.
Everybody like came up to Bruce Pearl and like hung and chilled and was and Charles Auburn, but like all the NBA people came to Bruce Pearl. And I was like, Avery Johnson was an NBA player and coach. Bruce Pearl's just a fat guy, you know?
Yeah.
But that's how charismatic he is.
Yeah, he's clearly a fun time.
Yeah. I didn't mean to go off on my thing while you talked about Tyler Hayes.
No, please. I enjoyed that.
Speaking of basketball, you are a retired college basketball player?
Technically, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Tell us about your love of hoops growing up and how you sort of got into basketball and then were like, yo, this is not for me.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell the Tyler Hansbrough story, but
yeah, I'll save that for the special. But my dad played. My dad was a hooper, and so I just grew up with it. in my house. Also my parents are both from Chicago, and so we were Bulls fans, and so 90s Bulls, like we watched all that. And I started playing AAU in what are these, some stats?
Oh my God, we have Kenny stats?
Wow. I had 101 field goals, you guys. That's actually pretty good.
Pull that up. Okay, so keep...
Wow, I made the third most field goals on our team. Let's go. Let's go. So I grew up, I played AAU growing up. And, that was incredible experience. And so I played year round from 4th grade on. Was on technically on a legendary high school team. I was a junior. The senior class ahead of me is truly in the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame and one of the greatest of all time public school teams in the history of the country. Mm-hmm. And then, senior year, we lost in quarterfinals at the buzzer. Oof. And then I thought I was done. And then my high school rival head coach became the head coach of Drury University, which is in Springfield, D2 program. And I did one last camp. It was for all the guys who didn't sign that mm-hmm. wanted to play college. Yeah. And the assistant coach, Coach Ribble, was there. And I just kind of went off that camp and just was bombing threes. And I was our starting center in high school. So they didn't know I could shoot. And so Ribble saw me, went to Coach Hesser, who's the head coach, and they recruited me. And it was like a recruited walk-on situation. They were like, we want you to walk on, but we want to play you. You can earn a scholarship for your sophomore year. And to the point where they're even like, you're probably going to play as a freshman. And I was like, oh my God, let's go, So
one shining moment.
Yeah, here we go. So they invited me in for a tryout, and I balled out that summer. It was I was really young for my class. So after high school, I grew 2 inches, kind of filled out, and had a great summer. And then at the start of my freshman year, as soon as it started getting cold, my knees just locked up, and I just lost any explosiveness I had was just gone. And I didn't really have a step to lose, man, because even at the D2 level, these athletes are incredible.
Yeah.
And I remember my first open gym, this dude caught one off the backboard, just touched the ball to his back and just KT, 6'4" kid. Kevin Thomas. Yeah, you're looking at the lineup. There he is at the top. Kevin Thomas. Could just jump. Oh, he averaged 15 a game. Okay, KT.
And he just punched it on you.
Oh yeah. Well, not on me. I was on the sideline watching that, but I was like, ooh, I'm at a new level.
Yeah.
And our point guard, Brandon Kimbrough, one of the quickest guys I've ever seen. I remember freshman year, we were doing a full court defense drill. Mm-hmm. And I had to pick up Kimbrough one-on-one full, and I couldn't even pretend to stay with him. It was to the point where Kimbrough was slowing down just so we could move on because we had to keep starting over. And I was like, oh man, I don't think I got it anymore. So I wrote it out, finished my freshman year, got surgery. I got the platelet injections and it worked, but then winter hit and it just happened again and I lost my bounce. And so I gutted it out my sophomore year and then I was just done. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
How much work is it to be a college athlete?
It's insane. And that's part of it too. It's
so you're in season. Walk me through a week.
Well, I would say it starts before season where you have, we would wake up at 5:30 a.m. We'd have a 6 a.m. guided workout. Jim Carr, the brother of NBA player Chris Carr. Mm-hmm. Jim Carr was the trainer at the medical prison. We have a federal medical prison in Springfield. So he was the guy that would exercise the inmates. And so he would come in and take us through these crazy workouts that were just exhausting. And then you would do that in the morning, and then you would have individual workouts, which is just an hour of nonstop movement. And it's just individual drills. So it's like shooting drills, but it's the kind where you're sprinting out to this wing, catch and shoot, sprint to the other wing, catch and shoot. And you got to make 10 from each spot. And then immediately you're going to the elbows, and it's just nonstop movement. Playing one-on-one, and then you go to class, And then we would have open gym in the evening. And then when the season starts, it's you still have the morning workouts, and then class, and then practice, which was just brutal. Just like 3 hours, and also weights. Like I forgot to even put weights in all this. So, dude, I mean, it is so hard. It is so hard.
That's at D2. This isn't even like a huge program.
Right. And that's the thing. Like I was talking to my boy about it. It's actually harder because at that point you're probably not going to the league. Guys do make the jump from D2 to the league, but
very rarely.
Very rarely. And and all of a sudden you're like, man, I am going through hell right now. And why? It starts to get in your head where it's like, I'm not going to do this professionally, and I am dog ass tired all the time. So it was brutal. I remember one time we lost a game real bad my freshman year, and to the point where coach punished the team. It was called 7 Steps of Hell. But me and the 2 other walk-ons didn't play in that game. So he goes, you guys didn't contribute to this, so you don't have to do this. And we sat and watched.
Oh, God. That could be almost worse.
It's worse. It's worse. So sophomore year, we lose a game. Oh, yeah, there they are. That's that legendary squad right there. There's AT right there, number 44. That's the dude that was in the league until this past season.
Wow, look at the length on that high school team.
Yeah, and the guy at the ball there, Spencer Laurie, is the best high school player I've ever seen. He was absurd. Yeah, they were crazy. Where am I? Do we see the bench? If you see frosted highlight tips on the bench, that's probably me.
Hitting him with that Freddie Prinze Jr. swag.
All damn day. In fact, Brandon Kimbrough, the point guard I referenced, has the ball right now. That's him on Glendale on the red team. That's crazy. I just saw myself. That's crazy. I am, right over there on the bench. This is nuts to look at. Anyway, what are we talking about?
How do you feel looking at it?
Oh, it's fun. Fun memories, man. Yeah, I'm next to the guy standing up on the left. Yep. There I am. There's my egg-shaped head. But yeah, so I don't know what we're talking about. College.
Playing college hoops.
Yeah.
Does comedy ever give you the feeling that sports gives you? Because that's the closest thing I have to the butterflies before going up.
Yeah.
It feels like game day.
Oh, without a doubt, man. I mean, that's why I do it. I think that was the big draw. I was just talking to Gilbert Lowen about this. Gilbert?
Yeah, Gilbert
was a bucket.
What?
Oh, Gilbert walked on at Vanderbilt.
Gilbert walked on at Vanderbilt? What year?
Man, probably the 90s. Wow. Yeah. He was, like, if you look at his high school highlight thing, it's nuts. He was so good. Just, he's like 5'9".
And just for those of you who are listening who don't know, Gilbert is the producer of the Red Clay Comedy Festival. He opens for Rory a ton.
Yeah.
Very funny.
Very funny.
Great riff. Great in the green room. I think he said something that hurt my feelings last time I saw him. Because we've always been cool, and Gilbert was one of the first shows I ever booked. Him and Mike Albanese came.
Yeah.
And I love Mike. But right before, the week before it happened, Rory was in Huntsville. And I took my buddy Trey Mack, who's a great comic. He had never seen Rory before. We drove up, and I do a lot of stuff at Stand Up Live. So they just let us sit in and watch the show. I saw Gilbert was working. So after the show, I walk out. Gilbert smoking a cigarette with Katie Hughes.
Yeah.
And I walk over, and I'm like, "Hey, what's up, Gilbert? How you doing, man?" And he goes, "Oh, look, I know people, da da da." And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna see y'all later."
That's so funny.
It's very funny, but it hurt my feelings. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna leave. I wish I didn't even walk over here."
That sounds like Gilbert.
Yeah, but it's fine.
Bad.
I do love Gilbert.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah.
But
I harbor no hard feelings. That was more on me and the energy I came up with.
no, of course. And I mean, I would take that personally too. As we established, I live in my head.
Yeah.
So what was it like to be me for a moment? That sucked, right?
Oh, I'm like you all the time. You have no idea.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, we know each other pretty well as far as like comedy people I know.
Yeah.
I would say we're like legit friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm in my head a lot, but yours just like seeps out the pores.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
You're doing a great job.
Thanks,
You're
man.
doing an excellent job. See, you're like a bigger comic than me, so like I have to be. I'm constantly like, am I doing okay here? Is Kenny just? I'm in my head to the point where I'm like, is Kenny just never going to talk to me ever again?
No, only on a podcast.
Yeah.
If it's content, I'll talk. But keep my name out your mouth in these streets, man.
So I was like, I try not to let my insecurity come through.
Yeah, no, I'm a seeping wound, but I've gotten a lot better, thank God.
You have.
Yeah, it's
Gilbert walked on at Vandy.
Yeah,
I found out Joe Zimmerman was a D1 golfer.
Yeah. There's a lot of that in comedy. I mean, it's that post-sports depression is real as man, and not enough people talk about it. And I started talking about it, and it's only reinforced this because people come up to me all the time like, dude, I never even thought about that. Like Becky Robinson was like a gymnast her whole life. And now she, it's like a very common, you're chasing that high.
I don't look like I've ever played a sport in my life, but all I did was play sports.
Yeah.
And it was good. And I missed it. And until I did comedy, I felt like I was from 18 to like 25. I was so rudderless.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, before I moved here, I was doing poetry open mics in Memphis, doing poetry.
Let's go.
Talking about how my dad wasn't around. I think I had a line in a poem that was, my only fans were stands, and it was STANDS, like the stands were empty.
Oh, let's go.
Thank you.
Let's go.
Thank you. It killed. I remember this one time, just a quick aside, I was doing a poetry open mic. There was a guy who was like good, like in the way like a stand-up would be good, but he wasn't good in terms of like, I would compare it in stand-up like some of those hacks that when you're starting something you don't know are actually bad.
Mm-hmm.
And like
what they're killing.
Yeah, but this dude was like killing at the poetry thing. And then like I went up and talked to him after, and he was like, yeah, I just drive around and I'm thinking of doing the moth. And I was like, oh my God, this guy's such a big deal. And I was like, can I have your phone number? And he goes, no. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't deserve it.
God.
This guy sucked.
Yeah, absolutely. I guarantee
he smelled terrible.
Of course he did.
Lived out of his car.
Of course he did.
But that's real. Yeah. And when I came here to Birmingham and did comedy, you're obviously so bad at the beginning. Most people are. Like, everybody has those stories about, like, first time I got on stage, I crushed, and then it was tough after that. No, first time I got on stage, I ate, and then continued to eat. But it felt like sports.
Yeah.
It was like missing a jumper. I was like, well, this is the worst I'll ever be.
Yeah, exactly.
I also feel like people who played sports gravitate to comedy because the reason I played a lot of sports is because my mind was so frazzled. I wasn't really great at schoolwork. I couldn't focus. Yeah. I had to be actively doing something.
Yeah, me too.
And stand-up, you do write a lot. But you also, the act of doing it is what makes you better. Mm-hmm. And it's an activity thing that you have to do and go out. So it gives you that feeling of like going to mics and doing stuff. I don't know if you feel this way. It's like, oh, I'm going to the gym.
Yeah, totally.
I'm going to go shoot around. I'm playing pickup with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And you fall into that same habit. Mics and comedy is sort of like, yeah, we do this open run on Mondays. And,
right.
You get in, you do 5 minutes.
Right.
If you do well, you could do a little bit more. You get to stay on the court a little longer.
Yeah, you get invited to better games.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's also, and I was talking to Gilbert about this, it's like, the hard part about sports is you're learning to work really hard, but you're learning to work really hard at something that you love. Mm-hmm. So to go into the real world, it's not always transferable because it's really hard then to work really hard at something you don't love. So like, to go out into the corporate world or whatever, which I am just not wired for, man. You put me in an office and I'm useless. And because I just can't focus. Because I'm used to focusing harder than anybody on a thing that I love. So I can't, and so it's like, I would love to have the security of like an accountant, and I took business, I have a business degree. I can't give you what you need as a company. I've tried, I've had those kind of day jobs where I use my degree and I'm like, yeah, a salary that really helped me with comedy. And I get there and I can't do it. I can't give you what you deserve as a company because I'm used to putting that much effort into something I love. And comedy is the only thing that filled that void. It's like the only thing since basketball that I will throw my entire self into.
And you felt heavy depression after you quit.
Yeah. And
you probably felt an immediate relief, like a few months like, oh, thank God I'm not doing that. But then.
Yeah. No, it was relief. But then it was like, I turned to all the wrong shit.
Yeah.
It was
that's
like,
what you do.
It was
substances.
Yeah. It was that classic, like, well, I never really partied that much because of basketball. And now I'm free. And I had like a Rumspringa. Like, that's the thing. When you're getting up in high school, you kind of learn a little quicker. Like those kids a lot of times chill out a little faster because they did it in high school, college, and a lot of those kids come out of college like, all right, I'm good. To me, I was just starting. I had 2 years of drinking my balls off and smoking cigs, all that shit, and I was like, I want to keep going. And that was another thing with comedy. I was like, I can party in this world. And but it's funny, man. It's like I didn't even know I was depressed at the time. That's one of those weird things about.
That's how depression is. You don't know that you are.
Yeah.
And you don't know you are until you're so deep into it you can't get out. It's like quicksand. It's like It's like by the time I'm like, oh, I can step out of this mud. It's whatever. It's just mud. And then you're like, whoa, my feet are locked and I can't move.
Yeah, exactly.
And I need a lot of help to get out. Like I need a crane to pull me out of here.
I need an army of people.
Yeah.
No. And now that I'm like, and that was the good thing for me with COVID was the forced step back. And then I was like, I got heavy into my therapy because I had nothing else really going on. Mm-hmm. And I'd learned to meditate. So I started doing that. And then as I started to feel better and better and better and heal and a lot of that I look back at that time and I'm like, dude, you were a sad. Like I look at like the way my room was in Chicago. It was just like a pile of clothes. I would like clean the clothes, not fold the clothes. It's a pile on the floor. I just dig through the pile to find my clothes. Then there's a dirty clothes pile here. And half the time it's on my bed. And when I go to bed at night, I pick up the pile, move it to the floor. And then in the morning, I put it back on the bed. It's like insane that I was living like that forever.
It's all, you think it's less work, but it's almost more work to do that.
Without a doubt, more work.
Yeah.
It's not even close. And
you ever have the pile and it gets so wrinkled, you're like, I might as well just wash it again.
Yeah.
Double clean this.
Throw it back in. Yeah, dude. Really just insane shit. And, drinking in a way where I look back and I go, did you really care if this killed you? Because, I was like doing wild, you know what I mean? Drinking like a fifth of whiskey in a night situation, like, cocaine, all of it. Just going so hard.
Well, especially being in New York, everything's so available.
Well, that was Chicago.
That was in Chicago.
Chicago is a drinking
coke town.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Every time I remember like I guess I can say I was smoking weed on the street and somebody was like, this is before it got legal, and somebody was like, you need to put that away. You should do coke out here instead. That's going to be a lot easier. And I was like, what? And it was like I did a Chicago trip, and after every set, the way people would be a good set, I'd be like, you want to go do a bump?
Yeah, that sounds right.
And I was like, coke is back. Like coke is here.
Oh yeah, welcome back.
Yeah,
welcome back, Kata. Yeah, dude, it was a wild time. And I put on a bunch of weight and was just so unhealthy. And then I moved to New York and was still going pretty hard. And then my living situation was not good. It was like a first floor apartment in Bushwick. And it's just like rat central. Like I walked down my old block last time I was back to be nostalgic. And I ended up running by the end because the rats all around me. It's just like, it's like a bowl. It's like a part of Bushwick where it's like the lowest elevation in Bushwick. So all the water runs down to my block. And the rats were insane. There was no less than 8 rats in my walls at any given time. Mm-hmm. They would come into the apartment sometimes. We had to it was insane. And all of that and living in this, the apartment flooded multiple times. We got mold, and it really, really knocked me down. And that's when I started like going to therapy and stuff and trying to dig myself out of that hole because I had to. I mean, at that point I was aware I was depressed. Like by the end of that time in New York, I was like, oh my God, my head is wrong. My head is not right now. Mm-hmm. So I've been kind of digging myself out ever since. Oh God. Oh, he just pulled up YouTube videos of rats. Oh my God.
This is in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
309 Manhattan Street.
Minahan. That's actually Bushwick.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. Oh God, horrific. And yeah, man. So thank God though. Thank God I found comedy because I don't know, man.
How long did it take you to find comedy after sports?
Pretty immediately. To be honest with you, I started in college, and like my first sets were in college, and then people found out I did stand up on campus, and so they'd be like, "Come to the fraternity house and do a set," and so I was doing shit like that.
That's cool.
So
I was so afraid to start. I was so afraid for so long.
Yeah,
and it took moving somewhere and not knowing any people, and weirdly enough, like my ex-wife, shout out to her. We moved here. My daughter was 6 months old. I'd been here a year, so she was a year and a half. All I was doing was working and going home. And my ex at the time was like, you've got to do something to get out of here, even if it's the stupid poetry stuff. Like, you got to do something to get out. Took an improv class. That was a nightmare.
yeah.
And I went to the they had a weekly improv show, and I get to the improv show, and I'm telling you, there's like 40 people there, and I'm like, it's incredible. And then afterwards, after the improv show's done, all the people left. I'm still sitting there. There's like 3 people sitting down. This dude comes up to me and was like, you want to do stand-up? I said, there's a show about to happen? And he goes, yeah. And I said, I'm not doing that. Not here right now. And he goes, listen, dude, if 4 people don't sign up, I don't get paid. So I don't give a what you do. Just go up there and do whatever, and I'll buy you a drink. And I was like, okay. And then we're sitting here in this room now, you know?
Wow. Do you still talk to that guy?
Occasionally. He knows who he is. He'll see me do stuff. His name was Matt. He stopped doing comedy probably a few months after, but as I post certain things I do, he'll send me a message and be like, wow, this is so cool.
Nice.
So he like lives in Tampa now. But yeah, I still keep in touch. I do a thing where it's almost like AA, where it's like, I love to call comics who move away or comics I know just randomly and just be like, hey, what's up? How you doing?
Yeah.
I'm like that. I'm a phone person.
Yeah.
Like I've called you a few times, just be like, hey, what's up, man?
Yeah.
How's it going?
Yeah.
How's it going? Because it's like, you you meet such special people doing this.
Yeah.
And the competitiveness of comedy hasn't. I'm happy in this. Yeah, we all get like ego and like this person got it. They're terrible. But for the most part, for people who start getting bigger, I like do have a sense of happiness, and it makes me feel like I'm on the right path. That like, oh, if they're doing it and they're good, and we start together, like in the Southeast, like Catherine Blanford started around when I did, Aaron Weber, Laura Peak, and they're all sort of popping right now, and it's just so much fun to see. Where it's like I don't know, people describe comedy as like, oh, everybody doesn't want anybody to get anything. And it's like, it makes me very happy. And I love to check in with people as stuff's changing to be like, hey, congrats. And I mean it, not on some like, can I get some from you type deal.
Yeah, I mean, there's comics that are like that, but all the people I f with are generally happy, or at least try to be happy for other people.
How do you feel about your friends and people you knew who started before you or same time, who were popping? How does that make you feel?
If my mind's where it should be, I'm happy. I'm human, so there's days I get on Instagram and see some I'm like, oh, what the but again, like, I'm very aware of how toxic that mindset is. It's just not, it's not good for you. It's not good for anybody. And so I'll actively try to flip that. Somebody actually told me this one time, like, if you feel jealous, you can even just like tell the person congratulations. It actually like flips it in your mind. So I've even done that before. Or if I'm in that headspace, I'll reach out to somebody I admire and be like, yo man, just letting you know you're crushing it and I appreciate that, or whatever. And then I do that and I feel better and I'm like, yeah, what was I doing? I'm fine. I'll be fine.
I saw something recently that was talking about like skiers, professional skiers, and of course you can't hit a tree, but they can't think that, because once you think I can't hit a tree, you're going to hit a tree. Mm-hmm. And I feel like what you're saying is like, once you're like, I'm jealous, I'm angry, I should get it. When you're like, congratulations to you, your mind centers back on the right thing and you're on the path and you're not hitting the tree.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, the mind is way more powerful than we understand. And, you know, this can start to sound like a guy with 5 rings on talking, but, you know, you got to be careful with what you spend your mental energy on. You know, you can focus on the negative of any situation. You can, and honestly, most comedians have a truly compelling case of how they're
Wait, Kenny, and this is brought to you by our sponsor, BetterHelp.
Yeah. This is brought to This is the part where we talk about DMT and nootropics.
Make sure to get my alpha vitamins. They're on sale on my website.
Yeah. Take Alpha Brain.
They're called immaculate aminos.
I've been taking Alpha Brain for a year, and I've been shoving so many little dorks into lockers. It really works.
How do you feel about this? So, and I'll frame it in this way. When I started comedy, there was almost like a roadmap, where when I started, it was Meltdown, your show. It was like, okay, you work hard, maybe get new faces. Then before you get new face, you do Conan. Mm-hmm. And you get Conan, then you do new faces, then you do one of the Comedy Central showcases. You do well at that, then you do a half hour. Then you can tour off of it and do the clubs and it's like within 5 years of me starting, the goalpost moved completely. Mm-hmm. And how do you feel about not so much making it, but where comedy is now versus where you started, and have your goals changed?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely started with the ignore social media, just focus on getting funny. Once you're undeniable, everything falls into place. So, you know, I mean, I was always participating in social media, but not in a focused way. There was no plan. It was just like, oh, that's kind of funny, tweet it, whatever. Instagram was literally just like flyers of my shows and maybe pictures of me hanging with comics or whatever. And then I was definitely on the old model, and I did everything you said. I've done it all of that. And yeah, it shifted because now I have the resume of a headliner, but I don't have the following. And so, and here's the thing, I don't blame the bookers. Why would you not book the person with 1 million followers that's going to definitely sell out the shows
and make your space money?
Yeah. Right. I mean, of course you're going to do that. And so I definitely fought I was like a late adapter of the caption videos and all that. But I started looking at it as freedom too, because the old model was very reliant on gatekeepers and,
impressing this person or that person, or
right. And
I need to get in front of them and not just like kill on stage, but I need to be like friends with them and find a way to.
Mm-hmm. And I need a good manager. I need all that stuff. I need the people plugging in, but
putting you on lists.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. But the new model, there's freedom to it. It's put it out for free. It's kind of the rapper model, really. Make the mixtape free, and then people will come buy tickets to your shows. That's where the money comes. And I mean, dude, if you look at it now, there's obviously people that are still in the old model making big moves and making money, but all of the people that are, depending on how you want to measure success, some of the most successful people are podcasters with massive Patreons that sell out every one of their shows. They're people that blew up on TikTok, and now every show they do is sold out. And it's like a direct relationship of the artist to the fans. Now, that obviously has its downside, which is you have to churn out content.
And 20 people showed up.
Really?
This was in Huntsville. This was 4 years ago before he popped. He had already moved to LA. And I remember because he had told me that he had just become a paid regular at the Comedy Store. He did Rogan a few months later, and within a year, he was selling out theaters.
Yeah.
It was crazy to see.
Yeah. It's crazy. And that's the thing. It's like, and like Schultz did it, you know, Schultz was the first person I'm aware of that did the free to YouTube thing.
Did he ever go around the net? I know he was not really entrenched in like he was always sort of focused on doing his own thing.
Yeah, I think we did have him. We definitely had Akash.
Akash is great.
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah, Schultz did the show for sure.
I did a show recently with Tashar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's very funny.
He's super funny.
Very good. Very good comic. Very cool guy.
Yeah, very
I think
fun.
he's going to come and do Star Party.
Oh, fun.
And maybe Akash is too, not to give too much away.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, sorry.
Are you going to do the Desi Comics thing? Are they still doing that?
I'm not sure. When I talked to Shar, he's just been opening for Akash.
Oh, okay.
So like he opened for him at the Wilbur, which was really big. I just walked away from watching him because what happened is Alabama went into a deep freeze. It was like negative 10 degrees, and we did Epic Comedy Hour in the ice.
Wow. Shout out Scott Eason.
Shout out to Scott. Thank you for having me. There were only like 23 people there. So I went on stage in a typical way I did last night where I was like, new stuff, let's get dark and weird. Because I didn't know who Tashar was. And luckily the set went well and it was fun and revealing about me. But it wasn't like I was going out there like, let's really.
Haymakers only.
Yeah. And after I saw Tashar, I was like, God, I should have given it. But he was nice. He was like, oh, I really liked your set a lot, and we've messaged back and forth. But it was one of those things where you never know who's going to be there, y'all. Bring the heat, you know?
Yeah, when you can.
I brought the heat in my own way, but it was very like off the top.
Yeah, but a lot of times comics respect that more.
Yeah.
You know, like it's easy to see someone you respect and be like, all right, I want to kill. But I feel like I know Nimesh's story of Chris Rock discovering him was he did like a brand new joke that didn't do that well, but Chris Rock liked it. And I think was like, oh, I like the balls of this guy. You know, it was like a news story that happened that day. And he was doing it, I think at Caroline's or something. Mm-hmm. And Chris Rock saw it. So sometimes that's the way to win a comic's respect, honestly, is to do your own thing and not just go up there and fall back on your A material.
Yeah. The more I do it, the more I sort of think like, before I was, man, I hope this person really likes me. Maybe they'll take me on tour. And it's like, man, just be relaxed and be cool. And what's going to happen is going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's sort of all you can really control. And whoever's there, the set I have that night, that's what they saw. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And hopefully it was a good one. If it wasn't, you'll see another one. It'll be good. You know what I mean? Right. Is that a good idea to have? Or
yeah. Yeah, you should always just like have fun. Jim Carrey had a great quote on a stand-up. He said the breakthrough he had was, he was like, what do people that come to comedy shows want? And he said, I realize that they want to be free of worry. And the only way that I can provide that for them is if I myself am free of worry. So he started coming out with that attitude. And that's like what shifted his stand-up.
Yeah, I heard a quote from Colin Quinn. They don't pay you to be funny. They pay you to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Up there.
Yeah.
And that is huge.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of opened things up to me in a real, like, I was like, oh, that is right. Because sometimes comics will be doing good, but it's just like, or they're not doing great, but the crowd's not that sort of weird, tense energy of scared. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, it's because they're relaxed up there.
Yeah.
You know, because most people's biggest fear is public speaking.
Right.
Not mine, which is heights.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Followed by snakes.
Okay.
Just any cold-blooded creature sort of scares me a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think people don't want to see you bomb because it makes them feel how bad they would do up there in their psyche.
Yeah, there's an empathy that the audience is feeling, which is also why they laugh at a joke, because they relate. But watching someone, I think most comedy audiences are really nervous right before the show starts because they're like, man, if this sucks, this is going to be brutal. Like watching a bad comedy show is one of the worst experiences a human being can have.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
Terrible.
It's like when people are like, oh, any sex is good sex. And it's like, well, you haven't had bad sex.
Yeah, it's out there. It exists. You know what I'm saying? A lot of teeth.
Comfortable, awkward sex.
A lot of teeth, a lot of clanking teeth, a lot of, yeah. We don't have to get too graphic for your listeners, but we've all been there.
I want to talk about, and sorry I just said people, but I didn't know how to change it. I want to talk about you have connections to SNL.
Yeah.
Friends and people who've been on the show, worked on the show, which has allowed you to go to some of the after parties.
Mm-hmm.
And what connected us last time we were together is, remember we were playing pool
Mm-hmm.
and we went outside, everyone come back in, and we put on that Rolling Stones album.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And we were worried about the turnout for the show, and the show ended up being great, remember?
Yeah.
And we're sitting there, and I just start, because I'd always wanted to ask you, but I was like, I'm comfortable enough now. We've hung out enough. I was like, okay, man, who have you seen at SNL? What musical guests? And you, I mean, just who have you seen?
Prince was the coolest. Kanye, Drake.
You were there for the Pablo Kanye with Chance.
That's right. I was.
And people were uncomfortable.
Yeah.
In what way?
I'm trying to remember. I actually don't remember why people were uncomfortable. What had Kanye just done?
Well, people didn't know if he was going to go on, and the lighting and all this stuff.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he had threatened to not do it. Yeah, because he's Kanye. And I think it was like 5 minutes before he showed up to do it. Fucking crazy. It was so cool, man.
I bet it was cool.
It was super cool. Yeah. I got to see who else?
Did Prince like do the after party and do the thing where he like just played another show entirely?
No, he actually did. He, most musical guests do 2 sets. He combined his in a one time slot.
Was that when he did Breakfast Can Wait?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great song, by the way.
And then just immediately left the studio, which is crazy. I saw a Tribe Called Quest. That was awesome.
You were there for the Chappelle Tribe Called Quest show?
I was.
How was it to see Tribe?
It was incredible. It was amazing.
Every white guy who loves hip hop's greatest dream is to see Tribe.
Yeah, without a doubt. And so that was a really cool one. Alabama Shakes. I'm a big fan of them. Brittany Howard. That was really cool.
I think her performance of Give Me All Your Love is the best SNL musical performance of all time.
It's so good, man. She crushed it.
When they're doing the guitar, and when she kicks in and she's like, give me all your love, and she's losing it.
Yeah.
And amazing.
So good, man. Sturgill Simpson was cool because I'm a big fan of Sturgill.
When he broke all the instruments after?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Sia was a really cool one.
Sia was cool.
Yeah. Whose voice stuck out to me? Alicia Caro.
Really?
Her voice was insane live.
Mm-hmm.
She did that song like, oh, here. Like it's like one of her big hits. Oh,
wait up. I want to play some. Put this on. Her solo album's incredible too, Jamie.
Oh yeah. No,
So
I'm a
good.
huge fan.
So good. So what are sort of the next steps? You've got the albums coming out.
Yeah, those will be coming out this spring.
So you've got so much material coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Are you gonna, when you're touring on those albums, are you gonna do some stuff from both, or are you very strictly like we're doing all new?
I try to move on. Yeah. A lot of the shit that I did last night on your show was the
Older.
newer shit that I'm.
Oh, the newer.
Well, it's kind of. I mean, the chunk. A lot of that started before, but I haven't put that out anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I've kind of got a new, I would say, half hour to 45 that I feel pretty good about. That's not on either of these specials. So I think the goal will be to put those 2 out and then expand the new hour. I might as well go ahead and put that out once it's ready. I mean, that's content's king, baby. We got to churn this shit out, So yeah, I'm moving back to New York.
That's where you need to be.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even.
That's where you need to be.
Yeah, I know. So daddy's coming home.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch you blow over the day. I told you the other night when I was in Atlanta, I said, A year and a half from now. Just wait.
Yeah, I hope so. I think so too. I'm not even that fake humble shit.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, it's time to pop off.
Yeah, it is.
It's time to cash in. It's time to cash in some of those vouchers.
It is definitely time for that, man. So yeah, I'm going to New York. I'm fucking razor focused. You know, I'm just gonna hunker down. And
so from not being there for a while and coming back, you're established. But when everybody goes to New York, it doesn't matter. Unless you're whoever, you're not just walking in. What's your strategy for clubs and getting back in or getting into the mix in New York at a level you're at?
Yeah, I'm just going to be more focused this time. The first time I was there, you're just trying to figure it out. New York's such a massive, crazy place. I work for that moving company that all the comics work for. So
and shout out to Andy Sanford. He worked there.
Yeah, he sure did.
Who are some comics who've worked at the moving company?
Mike Racine, Kevin Barnett back in the day, R.I.P. Bird Luger.
R.I.P.
Andy Haynes, my boy Lane Pichelle, Simmons McDavid, David Drake worked there.
Really?
Yeah. Rob Hayes. Rob Hayes was in the mix for a minute. Jordan Temple.
Come on, man. I didn't work at the
moving company, man. I didn't work at no moving company, man.
Man.
Why we call it a moving company? The company's not what's moving.
You just trying to put stuff standing still.
You're the one moving.
What a fun hang last night. I just want to recap Star Party and we'll go. Did you have fun at the show?
I had a great time, yeah.
What a great group of people. I'm so thankful that you and Rob came in. I hope y'all will tell other comics to come to town and do it.
Oh, of course, yeah.
It was just such a fun green room. And, in Birmingham, it's not LA, it's not New York. Very rarely do I get the nights where I get to do a show and I'm like, this feels like a big city show.
Yeah.
This could be a lineup in New York or LA. Like this grouping is I was just so happy and had such a good time.
Me too, man. Kristen Rand coming out of retirement was awesome.
Unbelievable,
yeah.
right?
And of course she was just great.
Yeah. Just didn't miss a step.
No, not at all. Like performed the shit out of her jokes as if she'd been It's insane.
Like she had never taken a day off.
Yeah. Wild. No, everybody was so funny last night, man. Richard coming down from Memphis. And it was a great show. So fun. That venue is really cool.
Yeah, Saturn is a great place. Reed, do you have any questions for Kenny?
What's the worst joke you ever wrote?
Oh boy.
That's a great question.
Wow.
We need to incorporate that with every guest, Reed.
Man, I mean, some of my early shit was so, it's one of the worst comedians to try to emulate when it's not your true nature is Patrice O'Neal, because he's my favorite comic. But like when you don't feel the way about women that he does and you try to do the whole like, let me tell you the truth, ladies, it's like such a trap and so many comics fall into it. I had some really bad ones, man. I mean, one of my first jokes that like did well, but it's like such a gross thing to say. I mean, I was in my early 20s. It was all like party shit. But I had this joke that was like, you got to ask before you hook up, you got to ask, like, do you have any STDs? And like the weirdest answer I ever got to that question was this girl was like right now? And I was like, yeah, right now. I know what you're going to have tomorrow, which is like, fine, but that's so gross. It's such a gross thing to say. Like, hey, I'm a guy that just gives women STDs. You guys want to follow my career or no? You guys cheering for me? So I just had a bunch. Like, I had a relationship that ended really badly at the end of high school, and I definitely had a couple years of like angry at women comedy. And I look back and I scream myself awake at night. Yeah. So it was just shit like that. I remember one like, why you want to text me all day? Like, women want to text all day. And it's like, you get home and it's like, well, why aren't you saying anything? It's like, I've been texting you all day. It's like, it's terrible.
Oh, I've done that one before. Yeah, I've done that one.
Yeah,
that same idea.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? You just want communication and to feel all right. Fuck.
Yeah, you want to feel secure with your partner. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Will you pull up Kenny's website? I want to show some of the merch before we head on out. You have a podcast section? What podcast do you have?
Those are just podcasts I've been on. And then when I start one, I'll put it there.
Yeah, let's go. I want to go around the whole website. These shirts are great. They feel good. What is it? It's kennydeforest.com?
Yeah.
KENNYDEFOREST.
So my shirts are print to order. It's this cool company called Fun Apparel. So, you get sweatshirts, hoodies, V-necks, tanks.
Yeah. Go back to his website, if you will. They look good. Shows. Let's see do you have any shows loaded up?
No, actually I just have this and then Memphis. Memphis
is going to be fun tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun.
Really fun.
Once I get to New York, my plan is to, I'm going to go on the road some later this year, but I want to focus on New York for a minute.
Yeah, for sure. Go up to podcast. I just want to look at some stuff. Scroll down. Look at all these he's done. The kid's been in the orbit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have. I've definitely been around a little bit. I've done some fun. Oh yeah, I forgot I did Boogie Monster. That was a big one. That was fun.
I love Stand By Your Band. I want to do that one day. Oh, Keith and the Girl. You've done that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Scrolling up to videos.
Love Keith and Chimda. That's me at New Faces, that photo.
Oh, I want to end on asking you about New Face because
That's the backdrop for my new special, actually.
Oh, scroll up. Let's see.
It's a basketball on the top left. I bought these neon signs to try to make the thumbnails pop a little more.
Yeah.
So
how much were the neon signs?
It was so much of the budget.
Was it?
I think it came out to like $800 combined for all three.
Should have bought a PlayStation 5.
I know.
Scroll down. There's you on the Late Show.
You can watch my hairline slowly recede. If you start with Seth Myers, then go to Corden and then Comedy Central, you can really track the kids' experience with the hair.
All of them are so good.
Those are some clips from Bad Dreams. Yeah, those were the ones those are the only ones that we thought were going to be able to salvage. But
what's it like doing late night? Just the feeling. I know because people say it doesn't matter anymore. I bet it's still like fucking cool.
Oh, it's so cool. I mean, it's like a very surreal experience where.
How did you get your late night spots?
My manager sent a clip to the Seth Myers booker, or actually a bunch of bookers, but she responded right away.
We can go back full screen, Reed.
So that's how I got that one. And then, same with Corden. I was moving to LA and I wanted to get something going. So I sent in a clip and she sent it to Ryan, the booker over there. And he booked me right away. That was a cool feeling because a lot of times you had to go back and forth. And the Seth Myers one was cool because I submitted this Yoga for Men bit that I thought would be a great late night. It's like it's clean. It's like, and I'd submitted it on a tape with some stuff that I'd never thought in a million years they'd want on late night, like my school shooter bit and all that. And that's actually what she wanted. She was like, let's do these two. And I was like, really?
Cool.
That's awesome. All right, come on.
Run it.
So yeah.
How'd you get New Faces?
I auditioned 3 years in a row, got it the third year.
In New York?
Yeah. And it was one of those, man, where like I didn't get it until I did what I wanted to do in the audition. It was 2 years of like, what do they want? And trying to think that way. Mm-hmm. And then, a little bit of frustration is good in comedy because you need to get to a point where you're like, man, these people. And that's whenever you're your best. Yeah. When you come into a room like, I hope everyone likes me. It's just like,
I know the feeling. I'm at that point. I'm trying to break to the other side.
Yeah, man, it's hard to stay there. But yeah, so I auditioned at New York Comedy Club. Felt like I probably got it. I had a really, really good set. And I actually found out that I got New Faces. It was I went to go see Widespread Panic at Red Rocks in Denver.
Whoa!
My cousin's a huge fan. I'd never seen them live, and I told her I was like, "I'll go with you this year. I'll do it." Mm-hmm. And so she's like, "Come to Red Rocks." So I had just taken Molly, and the Molly was like really hitting as my phone rings, and it's my manager, and I answer, and she's like, "Do you have your passport?" And I was like, what are you telling me right now? And she's like, you got it. You're going to Montreal. And I was like, oh my God. And like the Molly's literally hitting as I'm getting this news. I was like,
What's the experience like at New Face? I've heard people say that you're so excited and then you get there and is not a letdown, but it's not the life-shattering thing you thought it was going to be.
Definitely some of that. I mean, the show itself was incredible. I went first, and it's like a big like theater type feeling, and it's packed. Mm-hmm. So that was fun. I had a really good set, and then but then you're just kind of like waiting for. Hi, I'm Ted, head of television, and here's $12 million, and we got you on retainer now, and that did not happen.
Yeah.
But it was still a cool experience, man. Like, I think I already knew that it wasn't what it used to be. So in terms of like, you get a sitcom or whatever. But I mean, dude, it changed Dusty Slay's life. Like I was the same year as him.
Dusty's so funny.
Yeah. And I was repped. So I think if you're unrepped, it can, that's the thing that can really change for you.
Yeah.
And obviously going up there is still totally worth it. I mean, you're showing the entire industry what you do.
Yeah, I am in no way saying I would not want to do it. I would kill you right now, I think.
Yeah, I'm getting that vibe.
Reed could dig the whole.
I'm picking up on that vibe right now, yeah.
I'm just kidding. Kenny, dude, thank you so much for doing this. It was an honor to have you. This was great. I learned a little bit more about you that I didn't know.
Hell yeah, bro.
Give it up for Kenny Deforest for being here. What a guy.
Thanks, dude.
Check out his albums coming out. Make sure to follow him on all socials. We are very excited. Next week, we have a really great guest for you. This is Chris Ivey. This has been the Ivey League, and we're going to go head to Memphis and go do an awesome show.
Let's do it.
Go Grizz.
Yes, sir.
All right.